Assaults, sexual assaults, bullying, blackmail, self-harm and reports of a child with their lips sewn together. The Guardian newspaper has been leaked by a whistleblower or whistleblowers, plural, more than 2,000 incident reports from Australia's Nauru detention camp, and they've published them online in a searchable database. Whatever successive Australian governments have claimed and denied is happening on Nauru, these documents tell a stark story of violence, sexual violence and physical and mental harm. The Australian government has maintained a regime of secrecy around its offshore detention centres, but as The Guardian itself says, the Nauru files shatter that secrecy. Paul Farrell is the Sydney-based Guardian journalist the documents were leaked to.
So these incident reports are published when a serious event happens in the detention centre. So that can range from an allegation of a sexual assault to a self-harm attempt to an actual self-harm to a fight. But it can also be things like accidents and injuries, basically anything which triggers that sort of response from the companies on the island who have been contracted by Australia to manage that detention facility. So what it really does is produce a staggering portrait of everyday life on Nauru. It's everything. It's everything that happened on a given day in Nauru. You can go through, you can search by day, you can search by month, you can search by category of incident. It's the most comprehensive portrait we've ever seen of this detention facility.
Is it remotely credible that the Australian government didn't know that this was happening?
Unfortunately, John, it's not. And the reason is that these incident reports have been made to comply with the Australian Immigration Department's reporting protocols. They get these incidents. They know what's happening there. But all these serious reports are continuing to occur. This data set goes up till October 2015, so it's very recent, and it post-dates the Moss, what's described as the Moss review into sexual assault allegations. It post-dates the Australian Human Rights Commission's report, and it post-dates a Senate inquiry report into these kind of incidents and shows that they have continued to occur. It will be up to the government to determine what action, if any, it decides to take following the publication of these documents. But clearly, it needs to manage this perception, and this perception that is backed by very extensive evidence in these incident reports and in many other reports, that Australia is involved in, some quite concerning allegations surrounding the treatment of asylum seekers and other people who are supposed to be in its care.
Well, Paul, you say they're concerning allegations. In fact, prima facie, these are statements of fact, aren't they? They're incident reports. So this stuff has happened.
Well, exactly. This is the eyewitness testimony from guards and caseworkers on the island. So I think it provides extremely strong and credible evidence that, many of these things should be taken as factual propositions. But of course, we do have to be careful with that, because sometimes an allegation can be made on occasion that on later investigation may transpire to be something else. But I think clearly when you have eyewitnesses on the ground reporting these events and providing this testimony, the probative value of that evidence is extremely high. And Australia certainly needs to be aware that is what people are going to consider about these documents, and it has to be aware that it may face criticism in the international arena, and certainly it's already facing criticism domestically relating to these files, because they clearly show that these people on the ground who are meant to be protecting these asylum seekers, the guards, the caseworkers, the child protection workers, are saying this is happening. They are filing reports on it. They are saying we need to do something about this.
Paul Farrell, the Guardian reporter the documents were released to. If you want to read those reports and find out more about them, there is a searchable database of all of them obtainable through the Guardian's website.